Hello, everyone. I'm so excited for today's live. My name is Elisha and I work at Ownr. And today I am here live with Alina. Today we're going to be answering the question you just incorporated. Now what? I'm really excited because Alina and I work together. She's our senior manager of revenue operations and strategy at Ownr. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, Alicia, love working with you. Really excited to be here. Hey, everyone. As Alicia mentioned, I'm Alina, Senior Manager, RevOps and Strategy at Ownr. I actually have the pleasure of being an entrepreneur, but also leading a team that builds relationships with entrepreneurs on a daily basis. So I'm particularly excited to be here talking to fellow entrepreneurs about incorporating in Canada.
Lovely. Yes, I'm an entrepreneur too. I'm a meditation teacher. You own an amazing business. I have the bag that I bought from you, right there. I'm giving it to a friend for Christmas. I'm so excited.
Shameless plug.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Check the link below in the comments. Yes, I'm really, really excited about this. Before we even jump into the topic as well, a reminder to everyone who's joining us for this live, if you have any questions, be sure to ask them and we will be able to answer them during the Q&A portion of this live at the end of this video. And be sure to follow, subscribe, or like wherever you're watching this live. Alrighty, so Alina, I would love to know, what are the 4 things that you can do once you incorporate in Canada? Let's just dive right into the first one.
Okay, before we dive into that though, there's 4 really important things. Well, first and foremost, once you've incorporated, congratulate yourself. I think that's something that I didn't do. I didn't really take a moment to be excited about it. So congratulate yourself. Take a moment to acknowledge how far you've come. This is a really exciting step. There are so many benefits to incorporating and equally a lot of responsibility, but it's okay because I'm here to help with that responsibility part and answer some of those questions. So anyway, let's dive right in. Number 1, you've incorporated. What's the first thing that you want to do is open a business bank account. And the reason is because when you incorporate, you've actually created a new person at law. So this corporation is a separate entity from you. You've almost birthed this person or idea or baby or whatever it may be. And so this new person, company, needs a bank account in its own name. It has its own name, it has to pay taxes, it needs its own bank account. So that's the first thing that you want to do. And really, you won't reap the benefits of incorporating if you don't get a business bank account to separate your personal funds from the business funds. And this is something that Ownr can help with through the incorporation process. A lot of you probably know this, but you can open a business bank account with RBC and get $300 back when you incorporate with Ownr. So that's number 1. Number 2.
I love that. Oh, sorry. Go for it.
No, you go for it.
No, I was going to say, I love the fact that you presented a business as if it's a person or an entity, because that's exactly how we have to think of it when we kick off our businesses themselves. When you open, for instance, a sole proprietorship, that is completely connected to you, it's connected to your name. You own that liability. That is pretty much your own little baby in a sense, but within you, versus your incorporation is completely separate from yourself and lives as its own entity, and you have to treat it that way. So the bank account is such an important part and process of it that many entrepreneurs tend to skip in this step of building out their business.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And you can now not only have one owner like you would as a sole proprietor, but you can have many. So yes. Great segue into the second thing that you want to do after you incorporate, which is pay for your shares. So whether you're one shareholder, you're that solopreneur, which is someone like me, or you have many shareholders, whether it's 2 or 50, once you've opened up that bank account and you've completed that step, every shareholder needs to pay for their shares. And you can do this by depositing money into the business bank account that you've just opened. So generally for a new corporation, the shareholders usually pay a nominal amount. If you don't know what that amount is, you can go find it in your company's minute book documents. It's usually in the subscription for share document. And what you would essentially be doing before you go through all these steps is you sign all your company documents and you review them. So I'm talking your bylaws, your shareholder and director resolutions, your subscription for shares, your articles of incorporation. Once you've signed all those documents, these 4 steps are going to be a lot easier. So all new corporations, shareholders must pay for their shares. And if you're an Ownr customer, you can simply just go into your minute book on the dashboard and find what that amount is.
That's awesome. I think too, this also lends itself to the fact that kicking off and starting an incorporation is more than just kind of like submitting some papers. It's actually like a verb. Like starting an incorporation truly is a verb. There's action to it. So I'm excited to learn even more of the things. So after somebody actually opens their business bank account, so you're saying that they have to pay for their shares into that business bank account as well. Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Exactly. You can do this in any way. Check, e-transfer, whatever you decide amongst other shareholders. But once you've created that account, the funds get deposited in that account because you're buying your way in. You're paying for that piece of the pie that you now own, and that's what makes it legitimate, along with the legal resolutions that.
Cool. All right. Well, I wanted to note as well, too, before we jump even into the next question, this is obviously a lot of information. So if anybody here is watching and is interested in registering your business with Ownr, or you want to learn more about using Ownr, be sure to click the link that I'm actually just going to drop right now in the chat. It actually is just a link directly to our pricing page, but our pricing page is so much information about an incorporation, how to start one, what you need to do and what you need to learn for like a managed corporation plan or full incorporation plan with a minute book that Alina is talking about today.
Yeah, there's a lot of information, but like I said earlier, we're here to help and we're here to answer all your questions. So if anyone clicks into that page, there is a chat function at the bottom. If you have any questions now, talk to our team. You can also just post them in the chat. But yeah.
Awesome. Also, Alina, do we have the same chair? I feel like
I think we do.
I just noticed while we're on this live, I was like, are we twins? Are we chair twins?
This is the best chair. I think
it is.
I think I got it from Rise Desk. It's a Canadian company.
Oh, I got mine from Autonomous.
Oh, so damn.
Very similar.
Same chair.
I love it. No, I was just wondering because I was like, this is such a comfy chat that we're having right now. I have my tea over here. We're talking about incorporations, but I was like, let me know what that chair is. Yep, you got your water. I have my tea right here.
A massive Starbucks cup. Gotta make sure that I'm hydrating.
Yes.
Hydrate and
incorporate.
Hydrate and incorporate. No, but seriously, if you're an entrepreneur and you're sitting all day and you're always heads down, you want to make sure you have a good chair and you got that back support.
Exactly. Honestly, I think this should be a live subject in the future, which will be all about, how to create your home office, because that is an important one.
Yeah. Whose chair is better, Alina or Alicia?
Ooh, we'll find out next week. This is great. Well, I'd love to know too, like jumping into our third point, I'd love to know, once I had kind of registered, and even when I pay for things like in stores, I see GST, I see HST, I see all of these taxes that kind of come up. And when I had kicked off and started my business, I was like, oh, do I need to register for this thing? Do I need to charge HST to my people? What is going on here? How do I send it? And my accountant walked me through the full process. But even then, it would have been great if I'd had that information up front. So what do you need to do after you pay for your shares, after you'd open your business bank account? Should you then register for GST and HST?
Yeah, great question. And I just want to echo and highlight what you said is like, you wish you had all the information, but then also don't you wish you could just do it all within a click of a button? We can do it, but you can do that on Ownr. But I'm going to take a bit of a step back and talk about CRA business number and then registering for HST. So whenever you birth this child, your new corporation, they're automatically assigned a CRA business number for tax purposes. So all companies get a business number. This is something that's separate from your corporation number. So just something to note. How you get it might depend on whether you're a federal company or a provincial company. So for example, if you incorporated a federal company on Ownr, that business number is automatically going to be populated in your Ownr dashboard. It's just 9 digits and it has RC0001 at the end. That's when you know that's your business number. Now, once you have that business number and you're fully set up, you have the option to consider whether or not you want to register for HST GST. Question of the hour. While it's not legally required to do it, a lot of entrepreneurs, small business owners often choose to. Sometimes it makes sense to register for a number early rather than waiting to hit a certain threshold. So the law is that if you're planning to make $30,000 in sales for the year, that you need to register for an HST GST account with the CRA and actually charge sales tax to your customers. But you can register voluntarily before you even hit that threshold. Excuse me. This way, you'll be basically accumulating tax credits for any of those business expenses that you have and that you incur. And then at the end of the year, when it's time to file your taxes, then you might be entitled for a tax refund. So a lot of entrepreneurs, take that extra step and do it voluntarily beforehand to benefit from that. That's one of the many benefits of incorporating. So this fourth step is really a consideration of whether you're going to hit that $30,000 threshold. And if you are, then you need to register and charge sales tax. And if you're not, then you might want to consider registering anyway so that you can reap those benefits earlier on. And I'll leave it at that for now.
Awesome. That is so important. And for everyone who's listening in right now, you might hear a siren in the background. I live close to a hospital. It is what it is. But I'd love to be able to jump in here and kind of say, okay, so now people have gotten their CRA business number. They also have been able to move towards getting their GST and their HST. But are there any additional things? Because usually I just hear about these top 4 things that you need to do when you register your business. Like, what else could there possibly be to do right after you incorporate?
Like, other than throwing a launch party?
Well, obviously throwing a launch party. Obviously.
Okay, so let's not talk about launch party. Let's talk about the fun stuff, if you will. I think for this part, I want to focus on something that's really important, and there's a bit of an education gap on what needs to be done. So this thing that I'm talking about is ongoing company maintenance. So if we use the analogy of this child that you've just birthed, when you incorporate, it doesn't stop there. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. When you give birth to a child, the responsibility doesn't end. You now have to raise that child. So in exchange for the legal and tax benefits of incorporating, you're essentially expected to keep your corporation compliant, keep records and filings up to date. So let's start with something simple. One of the first things, first and foremost, what you absolutely need to do is keep an organized minute book and share records. So I've been talking about minute book a lot. These are services that Ownr offers, but it's absolutely required that you keep a minute book, which is essentially a collection of legal documents that make up your company. So when you incorporate, you register with the government, and then you have the creation of these legally required minute book documents. So keeping those up to date, keeping your share registry and records up to date is mandatory. This can be done in several different ways. You can do it the old-fashioned way, where you can keep it all in a big fat binder at home or your lawyer's office. Or like we do at Ownr, you can, have that through secured electronic minute book. So I'm biased. The electronic way is a lot simpler, but everybody has their own ways of working. It also saves trees to do it electronically. But if you're an Ownr customer, then you would have access to this in the dashboard just by logging in under the minute book section. It's important to make sure that all the information is up to date. And I think the next piece is about company updates. But first and foremost, this is the easiest one, is just make sure that all details are up to date. Do you have any follow-ups on that?
Yes, honestly, like for me, when it comes down to the minute book itself, you had even mentioned as well too that contained, your share prices, that contained company updates. And I think, like we mentioned before, a lot of people just think you just file some papers and then you submit your taxes every year. But there are a lot of things that you need to do to maintain your company. And your minute book is a really core and important part of that, especially if somebody were to get audited in the future, et cetera. Like the government, they're looking for that information.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you think about audit, you also think about growth. Let's say you're 10 years down the line and you're getting acquired, or you're selling a portion of the business to someone. The first thing an investor is going to ask for is your minute book. And you don't want to go back 10 years catching up on all of that. First of all, it's not compliant. You can get dissolved, but, you want to make sure all that information is ready to go and up to date. So an easier example that's earlier up the funnel of when you first incorporate is you go to the bank and you want to open a bank account, and you need to assign a signing officer. You need to prove that that person has been appointed a director of the company or officer of the company. Then you simply go into your minute book, grab those resolutions and the government filing piece, and send it over to the bank. So it's important from a compliance perspective, and it's also important from an organizational perspective. It'll really set you up for success in the long run.
That's awesome and really important. And I know that there's a question that came through about the minute book. In a moment, we'll get to that for sure. But I'd love to know too, okay, so we have our minute book and the share record's good to go, is there anything else that we would need to do after incorporating?
Absolutely. So let's talk about like the actual growth long-term changes of a company. So as the shareholder owner of this new baby, and maybe I'll stop using that analogy soon, but it's working for now. So we're gonna
I think of my business as my baby. So my baby is 2 years old now. It is what, 24 months.
24 months.
So no, I agree with that.
Love it. Okay, so let's say you stopped breastfeeding this baby. No, just kidding. Let's seriously talk about company changes, because this is something that comes up a lot. And there's a lot of changes that are constantly happening. You're either moving, you have a new address, you're bringing on a new shareholder, you want to add a CFO to your company, you want to extend or expand your board of directors. Anytime your company details change, so like I said, when you change your address or you add a director, you have an obligation to file forms with the government and prepare corporate resolutions, which are basically going to officially approve the changes. So you want to make sure your minute book is updated with those resolutions while also filing those changes with the government. Those resolutions are important because they actually mean that the directors and the people, the minds that are governing this company have actually approved those changes and they're legitimate. And I know that sounds like a lot, like there's the government filing piece, that's a lot of paperwork. There's the legal resolutions that are drafted and signed by all stakeholders. But the good news is Ownr is going to take care of all of that legal paperwork through automated technology. So earlier I mentioned a click of a few buttons, and it's exactly that. We prepare the government filing forms. There's a super intuitive way to do it on the platform. The government forms get filed, and then the resolutions are prepared, sent to all required stakeholders that need to sign them. So if it's a shareholder that's approving the change, the shareholder will receive the document in their inbox. They're going to sign it electronically, and then it's all securely stored back into your minute book on Ownr. So these are all things that are mandatory, and they need to be done quite quick or very soon after, depending on the province you're in. So if I move, then I think, let's say, for example, federally 12 days later, don't quote me on that number, then you need to officially change the company's registered head office address with the government and approve that change. So company changes are a really big part of ongoing maintenance. Another example of a change would be issuing shares to a new shareholder. Let's say I want to bring my sister on as equal part shareholder to my company. I'm going to issue her 500 shares at whatever the price is. There's that verbal conversation, but then there needs to be legal resolutions prepared to actually approve and make that change legitimate. So that happens. And then earlier I talked about maintaining the minute book in your share registry. Now you actually have to make sure that your share registry is updated and that change has been recorded. So that's a really big, important piece. Company changes happen all the time. And a lot of people don't know that they can make those changes on Ownr for a really good price as part of your subscription. So anyone in the chat, there's some questions coming in, has questions about changes specifically, then just reach out to the team and we'll be happy to help out.
Awesome. Honestly, it's so interesting because in my mind, I think, okay, cool. I'll just have a big guidebook about my company. And then if anybody new joins, I send them the guidebook, almost like the burn book from Mean Girls. I'm like, here's all the info you need to know about my company. The people who are here you go. But really, there's like a bigger and more official way to actually record all of this information. So that it's almost overwhelming, but I do love the fact that you keep mentioning that Ownr has a subscription where you can enter this information so that one, it's secure, because I would lose that book in 3 seconds. Let's just be honest. And then even for instance, if you have like a lawyer or an accountant or somebody who is keeping track of that book, so they have it in a safe place. But what if you want to open it quickly and see something? Or what if you want to be able to quickly adjust something? Or you're trying to go to an appointment, you would have to contact that person to give you the information, or you'd need to know specifically what you need. There's just so many hoops to get through when you're a solo entrepreneur and you don't have a lot of time. Usually solo entrepreneurs also have another job. So that's a lot of work to have to do to just get one line item or to add your sister in as a shareholder, for instance. So it's really great to know that business owners can just access that at any point instead of having to go through so many channels.
Yep. I was at the grocery store the other day and I had to send out an invoice and I'm on my phone and I'm like, oh, I didn't need a resolution, but I needed my HST number, which is stored in my Ownr dashboard. So as I was in line paying, I pulled out my phone, got it, etc. Like it's something, it's really good to have access to that information. I'm not good at memorizing numbers, so it's nice to just log into that dashboard and get it. And when I go to the bank to add my sister as a signing officer, when she becomes a shareholder, I'm going to need to bring those documents in. I'm going to need to show my share registry to prove that. So yeah, it's nice to have everything in the palm of your hand sometimes. And the benefit of Ownr is, your lawyer, accountant, other people can have user access. They can have their own accounts in here. So if they need to make any changes themselves, they can do it, and you can just log in and check on it. So that's really great. We love technology.
We definitely do. I think that's important. So, Artie, we've gone through, of course, Minute Book, company updates, and the things that you need to be able to put into different areas, especially using your Ownr account. Is there anything else? Like, there are so many things you told me, and I'm like, Alina, is there more?
So many things. There's so many things. There's so many things, but I want to focus on one actually very, very important thing that is often slipped through the cracks and often mistaken for the tax return. It's called the annual return and resolutions. So the annual return is, and I can't stress this enough, there's a lot of misconception about it. It's separate from the tax return. So again, this is the last time I'm using this analogy because it's too much now. But like you birthed this baby, and every year for this child, you need to file their tax returns with the CRA and their annual returns with the government or the business registry in your province or jurisdiction. These are two completely separate. The annual return is filed on the anniversary date of your company. The tax return is filed with the CRA to inform them of your financial position, of your company's financial position, and it's filed on the fiscal year end of the business. Those two dates don't always match up. Sometimes they do. For me, they do. For others, they don't. To each their own. But let's dive a little bit deeper into the annual return, because again, it's often mistaken for the tax return, but they're both equally required, legally mandatory filings. The annual return, the best way to look at it is it's similar to incorporating because it requires both a government filing and a filing fee. Depending on what jurisdiction you're in, those fees vary. Federal Ontario, for example, is $12. So you have the government filing, and then you have the resolutions that need to be prepared. So each year, your company will need to file an annual return with the government, then pay those associated fees. And then you'll also need to prepare this annual resolution. So we're talking the annual shareholder resolution, the annual director resolution. There's also one called the waiver of auditor resolution. They're all mandatory documents in order for your business to stay compliant. So the shareholder and director resolutions are essentially signed unanimously by all shareholders and directors, acknowledging that they've held their shareholder and director meeting. Sometimes you haven't, so you would indicate no, and then Ownr or maybe the lawyer that's preparing this will prepare the resolution to follow a certain format to acknowledge that. You're also acknowledging that the company is going to, in fact, file the company's tax return that year, and a lot of other things. So it's a lot of legal jargon, but these are mandatory resolutions that are filed every year, and the resolutions are added to your minute book. The annual returns filed with the government. If you fail to file your annual return, the government can dissolve your company. So very important to do so.
That's spicy.
Spicy,
That's
I know.
Terrifying.
Drama. We don't want it. We don't want it.
We don't.
So another thing, and you guessed it, Ownr does this for you too as part of your subscription. It's very easy. You answer a couple questions. The platform takes all your information, produces your resolutions. Your shareholders and directors sign them to approve the filing and all the information in there, files it with the government for you, and then everything's automatically added to your minute book, and you're all set. You even get a notification on the day that it's due to file it. So I love this cadence. It's like, here's all this paperwork and legal and really difficult, annoying stuff that you have to do for your child, but it's okay because our technology helps you do it within the click of a button. Yeah.
That's so much. And it's so easy to become overwhelmed because I, for instance, I've remained as a sole prop for my business because I knew that I had a full-time job and I was running a business. And there are a lot of things that I wanted to be able to be compliant with. And I didn't want the government to dissolve my business. So I was like, okay, let me stick with a sole prop because this is a lot. This is a lot. So I think it's important for business owners to know what they're getting into when if they're a sole proprietor, if they're going to move into incorporation because they want to limit liability, or if they're making a certain amount of money and they want to do their returns a certain way, or if they want to eventually sell their company, right? Because it's much easier to sell your company if you're incorporated. But people do need to know the realities of incorporating your business does require a lot of paperwork, a lot of information, a lot of knowledge. But of course, plugging our own company with Ownr, it does make this a lot easier because it's all centralized. It lives in one place. It's not something that you have to log in, fill this, log in, do that, log in, like it's just in one spot. You can do it all. You can place it all. And it'll be available for the people who work for you, like your lawyer, like your accountant, to be able to access and provide to you if they're going to be the ones filling it in. You have access to that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Do it all on your phone. I'm an Ownr customer too. That's a
Yes. Yes, it's amazing. And I remember when I had first used Ownr to register my sole proprietorship, I was like, wait, that's it. I genuinely I was like, this was so easy. And I sent it to all my friends.
Sometimes customers will say like, wait, is this real? Like,
yes, people ask me.
No, that seems too good to be true. Like,
yep.
Did I just file my annual return in 30 seconds?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you definitely did. If you have your information in front of you, you can get this done really quick. So I love knowing that. So, alrighty, we're going to get to the Q&A portion of this session because I saw a few questions come in. The first question that I actually saw come in, which was, you had brought up the fact that you were able to potentially give shares to your sister to be able to own part of the company. And so in response to that, somebody had actually asked, okay, then how can I actually register a partnership with Ownr if that is the case?
So, okay, let's nip this in the bud. Ownr doesn't register general partnerships. That is a different corporation. It's not a corporation, sorry. It's a different business structure than what we offer. So we currently offer sole proprietorship and corporation. A general partnership is in the same way like a sole proprietorship, where you all share the liability and the debt functions of the business. So there is no separate legal distinction from you and the business. So a general partnership is just that, but with two people. So if you were to use Ownr and you're doing business with another person, you would incorporate a company and you would give yourselves, either equal part or whatever percentage you decide on. So how you would do that is when going through the incorporation process. Let's say for simplicity, you're each taking 50-50 or 50% ownership of the business. Then person A would issue themselves 500 shares and person B would issue themselves 500 shares. So out of the 1,000, you each own 500 and you're 50-50 shareholders of the company. So yeah, just wanted to clarify that general partnership and incorporation are separate business structures. And in the case that we're talking about with shareholders, you would be talking about an actual corporation, which again, separate from a sole proprietor or a general partnership, is its own person at law. They're a separate legal entity that you're governing.
Awesome. Yes. And the next question that I saw come in is from Sarah, and it says, how do I get the minute book in Ownr? I currently have a sole proprietorship.
Yeah, great question, Sarah. Sole proprietors don't maintain a minute book like a corporation does. So Sarah, if you decide one day that you're going to incorporate your company and you come on to Ownr and you go through the incorporation process, that's when you'll have a minute book and that's when you'll have records to maintain. So when you incorporate, there are liability and tax benefits that come with that. And then the minute book is a part of the compliance that you keep up on an ongoing basis. So for a sole proprietor, it's a little bit different because you're not maintaining those changes like you would be for a corporation. So there's not necessarily a minute book for a sole proprietor like there is for a corporation.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like I do not have a minute book for my business. So I'm gravy. I don't have to fill that in. But,
Sarah, you're good. You're good.
Right?
But
exactly.
If you incorporate
Myself and Sarah,
yeah,
we're good. We're on the same train.
Take a seat in your comfy chair.
Exactly. Lean back and then you're good to go. So the last question that we have here, it comes in from Mark and it says, there's so much work associated with an incorporation. Why would I choose it?
Yeah, great question. So many reasons. I think, Alicia, can we link like the video in the resources that we have to answer that even deeper than I will right now?
Yes.
And Mark, there's actually a quiz on the Ownr website that you can take that tells you whether it's a good it's a good plan to incorporate or go with the sole proprietorship option. But generally speaking, when you're at a point or you're just starting out and you want to be able to reap the benefits of having your own business bank account, not having liability within the company. So let's say you want to take on a business loan and you don't want to be personally liable, then you can incorporate to have that separate entity. There are a lot of tax benefits to incorporating. So I'll give an example. As a sole proprietor, the money that you make is your own. So at the end of the year, when you file your taxes, you're subject to personal income tax. So everything you make in the business makes is the same person. It's that same, legal entity that's paying taxes. When you introduce a corporation, then all the money that the corporation makes is subject to corporate income tax, which is lower than personal income tax. You end up paying less taxes. And then on the liability front, if the business is taking on debt, getting a credit card or a small business loan line of credit to grow, sometimes there are personal guarantees involved for shareholders, but for the most part, the business owns and takes on that liability. So there's less of a risk on you as a person. So your home assets, your car, your baby's RRSPs are not at risk because of the corporation. So there's a big liability benefit and a really big tax benefit. Well, there's a lot more, but those are the two main big ones.
Yeah, honestly, I'd say that the biggest thing that I've seen among business owners and why they choose to incorporate is also to a sense of legitimacy is like a big thing, is really be able to say, yes, this is my business, this is who I am. Because even when I got my HST number with a sole prop and I file, it's all under me. It's all under my name. It's not even under my company's name. So it is very interesting to just see that no, your company lives as a separate entity. It feels a lot more legit when you incorporate. And that is very, very important as a business owner for you to move through those steps and to feel that your own company is its thing and to be able to treat it that way.
Yeah. There's something fun about like going to buy something and being like, oh, it's not me tapping the credit card. It's the company. They're paying for this, not me.
Exactly. It's very important. I love it so much. Well, that was it for all of the questions. And thank you so much to everybody who tuned in for joining us for this Ownr Live. We're really looking forward to hosting more of these. So be sure to follow along on whatever platform you're watching this on, if you're watching it live or if you're watching it later on. And for more information about Ownr and for a discount as well too on an incorporation, definitely click on the link down below that I'm going to be leaving for you today. Any last words, Alina?
This was awesome. Some really great questions. Mark, Sarah, if you're looking to incorporate, reach out to the team and we can answer some of those questions one-on-one. And yeah, hopefully we can do this again soon.
Amazing. Oh, we definitely will be.
No.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining and we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.